So when you say the book of Isaiah is intact, how similar is it to the book of Isaiah that's in the Bible?
So that one is fascinating. So this isn't true for all of the Dead Sea Scrolls, but when we discovered the Great Isaiah Scroll, we literally pushed back our understanding of Isaiah 1,000 years. And the thing that really shocked scholars, like I said, this isn't true for all of the Dead Sea Scrolls, but one of the things that shocked them about Isaiah was that it was word for word identical to the Masoretic text.
Word for word?
Word for word.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. Wow. Wow. That's a miracle.
Wow, that would be amazing.
1,000 years.
Wow.
And it was exact, word for word.
It is a wow moment.
The wow that went round the world. Here's what's really, really cool, in my opinion, about 1QIsaiah-a. And that is that right in the middle of the scroll, right at the end of column 27, right at the end of chapter 33, what do we see there? Oh, what's that?
Whoa!
Look at that. What do you see there?
Little
Pause
blank
it.
space.
There's a blank space there. If you look at the bottom and you compare it to the column right next to it in column 26, you will see that is a blank space comprising 3 full lines. That's 3 full empty lines of text at the end of chapter 33, at the end of column 27 in this manuscript. Now, why? Do you see the stitching to the left of this column here? This is how scrolls are made, right? Scribes will write on the individual sheets, and then in the last stage of the process, they're stitched together. So this is a transition between sheets. Here's what's really wild here. The second half of this manuscript, everything after this break, was copied from a different scroll. Now, why would that be? Why would you have to copy the book of Isaiah from 2 separate scrolls? This kind of a section break in all of the manuscripts that we have from this period, it always means the same thing. There is a transition here between the end of a book and the beginning of a new book. This is another fragment from a different manuscript in the Dead Sea Scrolls. So this is 4Q Paleo Leviticus Numbers. And what you see there is the transition between the final verse in the book of Leviticus and the first verse of the book of Numbers. This is how scribes did this. And we have multiple examples of this. This appears in 4Q Paleo Genesis Exodus L. This appears in copies of scrolls containing the 12 minor prophets. It always only means the same thing. So if this is what this kind of a break means, then what does this mean for 1QIsaiah-a? And what does this mean for the book of Isaiah in the 1st century BCE, the beginning of the 1st century BCE, when this manuscript was copied by this scribe? Scholars for a long time, 200 years now, have been very strongly convinced that 1st Isaiah is comprised of prophecies and writings that can potentially date as far back as the 8th century, perhaps even to the prophet Isaiah himself, Isaiah ben Amoz. The scholars have also noticed that the second half of Isaiah is comprised of an additional 2 separate compositions written by different people. Scholars will tell us that 1st Isaiah, remember, was written in the 8th century, maybe sometime between 750 to 700 BCE. 2nd Isaiah was written in and around the time of the exile, sometime between 586 and 530 BCE. All of these prophecies are anonymous. Isaiah himself is never mentioned at any point in the second half of this book. 3rd Isaiah, which appears in the last 10 chapters of Isaiah, all of a sudden now speaks as though there is a second temple. A new temple is great. It's amazing. It's the place where God's kingdom will ultimately be established. Isaiah is a composite book. It was written by multiple people. It was written over hundreds of years. The scribe of 1QIsaiah-a clearly recognizes that these are separate compositions. And I think this is a very big deal.
However, there are multiple scrolls of Isaiah
found among the Dead Sea Scrolls in these different caves at Qumran?
Now, there on the bottom right is a listing of the 3 manuscripts, 1Q Isaiah B, 4Q Isaiah B, and 4Q Isaiah C, in addition to 1Q Isaiah A, which scholars believe comprise the entire book of Isaiah from chapters 1 through chapter 66. There were an additional 17 copies of Isaiah in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Look at this. And I think this is huge. These are all the manuscripts which contain only text from 1st Isaiah. Look at this. These are copies of, at best, 1st Isaiah. Maybe not even that much. Maybe some of these are only copies of a couple of chapters or a few individual oracles from Isaiah. But here's the point. 1st Isaiah is something that was recognized by the people who wrote and collected the Dead Sea Scrolls because it's a real thing. Because it's an actual thing that happened in the developmental composition of the book of Isaiah, and we now have hard manuscript evidence to demonstrate this. These are all the manuscripts that contain only text from 2nd and 3rd Isaiah. These only contain text from 2nd Isaiah through 3rd Isaiah, or maybe some of these copies, like look at some of these, maybe manuscripts like 4Q Isaiah I, M, 4Q Isaiah N, maybe these only contain text from 3rd Isaiah, maybe 4Q G and H only contain text from 1st Isaiah. We don't know. But what we're really confident in is that these were not copies of what we now call the book of Isaiah. This is a wow moment, guys. This is what Joe Rogan should have been saying wow at. Wow. This is what's going on in 1Q Isaiah-a. This is what's going on in the Dead Sea Scrolls insofar as the book of Isaiah is concerned. Yeah, it is.
This is really cool.
That's cool, isn't it? That's why I did the 90s ponytail today, guys, because this stuff is fire.